Stampers, this is Dena from PocketFullOfStamps.com. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. What I wanted to show you today is how I made this really pretty box. I call it a book box because if you look at it, it kind of looks like a book. But you can open it up here and put all kinds of little treasures inside of it. It's kind of a little keepsake box. So let me show you really quick how to put this together, or how I made this. I started with, well, actually, let me go back here a little bit. I've already done a lot of what I'm gonna show you today because my granddaughter is gonna be waking up really soon, so I have to get through it quickly. So I'm going to show you really quickly how I did it. Some of the things have already been done, but I will be sure and go back when I edit this and put in dimensions and numbers of products and things that I used. You want to start out with two different pieces of paper. You're going to have the actual box and you're going to have your cover piece. The box itself is, I used thick Whisper White cardstock and I cut it 7 1/4 inches by 9 inches, and then I scored it 1.5 inches on each side all the way around. And then I also made some little cuts here, which I'll show you what we're going to do with those in a second. Then for the cover, I cut a piece of the Share What You Love Specialty Designer Series paper. P.S. Have you seen this? This stuff is so amazingly beautiful. And what's really cool about this paper too is it's a double pack. So instead of getting 2 sheets of each one, you get 4 sheets of each one. So if you're a paper hoarder like me, you can use up 3 sheets and still have 1 left to hoard if you want to. So this piece is from the Share What You Love Specialty DSP. It's cut 6.5 inches by 10.5 inches, and then it's scored at 4.5 inches and 6 inches. So again, I'll put those measurements up later. So the first thing I want to do is fold my box, and I want really good score lines on here. So I'm going to take my tool here and fold these score lines. Actually, if I hadn't cut that ahead of time, it'd be a little easier to score, but I thought I'd save myself a step here. Score all the way around. And then before I actually adhere it together, I want to clip these little tabs here. And all I'm going to do is just clip out a little section here. And what that does, when you go to fold this, or when you go to put this together, when you clip those little ends like that, your edges will be really nice and smooth. They won't stick up here. And this one, actually, I see I didn't cut quite enough. A little bit more there. Alright, so I'm going to go all the way around and do these and clip these. And one more. Okay. So now I've got those clipped. I'm going to recommend to you that you use a different adhesive than what I'm going to use for today. Our sticky strip would work great, or our Terran tape would work awesome. Probably some glue if you have it. I'm going to use our snail adhesive, but I actually would not recommend using this to put this box together. Because it's a keepsake box, you want to make sure that you're using an adhesive that's really going to hold it together permanently. And this would probably hold it for a while, and I use a good amount on here, but eventually it might come undone. So I would use a better adhesive. Just like I said, for quickness sake, this is what I had, this is what I grabbed. But really you want to use something a little bit stronger, so that this will stay together really nicely. Okay, So I put adhesive on my tabs there and put that all the way around. Now my box is done. Now what I'm going to do is take my cover and do the same thing. I'm going to score on my score lines, or fold on my score lines, rather. Okay, so you can see that this is going to fit in here just like this. But there's a few more steps I want to do before I put it all together. The first thing is I want to add my ribbon. So to do your ribbon, well, let's see. First of all, I have two pieces of, oops, that's not my ribbon. This is my ribbon. I have cut two pieces. These are 11 inches each. If you're using a different DSP, definitely use different ribbons. Lots of fun things you can do for tying this together. But what we want to do is we want to measure this and find the center. So this is 6.5 inches long. So we know 3 1/4 is going to be halfway. So I'm just going to make a little mark right there. Flip it around and do the same thing. Lay it down, 3 1/4, just like that. And here again, a better adhesive, probably you'll want to use than what I'm using. I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive down there and lay my ribbon down. And same thing on this side, adhesive, and lay my ribbon down. Okay. I did create a cover for this one. The cover does two things. I'll show you what the cover looks like in here. It hides the ribbon, but it also adds a little bit of strength and stability to the lid of your box. So I also cut this out of thick Whisper White cardstock, and it measures 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And here again, you can use tear and tape or a really good glue. It'll probably be a little bit more permanent than what I'm using. So you just center that up and lay it down there like that. So that hides the ribbon, the end of the ribbon there. Okay, now before I put this together, I also did some sides here. So I want to add those to the sides of the box. And I only cut 3 because the back side is actually covered by the cover. So what I did on here is I cut these also from the Share What You Love Designer Series paper. There are 2 that are 1 1/4 by 4. And 1 is 1 1/4 by 3 and 5, and I'm sorry, 1 1/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches. So we'll just add adhesive to the back. And we'll put 1 right there. And 1 for the front. Other side. Okay, now we're going to add our cover. And again, use better adhesive than what I'm using. But I'm going to put a lot on here and hope that it stays for a good long time. All right, and also make sure that this is in the front when you put this together. What you want to do though is you want to line this up and put it right up against the score line in the back here. And then you can press that down so that your lid will go on like that. Okay. Okay, now to do this decorated part up here on the front, I started with a piece of 3 inches by 5 inches. This is mint macaron. And what I did is I ran it through our embossing folder. You know what? I forgot to write down which embossing folder this is. But it's the new one, and it's in the suite with the Share What You Love. So I will make sure that that information is also on the screen here in a minute. What I did is I ran it through twice. I stuck it in here, ran it through the Big Shot, and then pulled it out, did the other direction, kind of lined it up there so you could see where it was, and did the other direction. You can see that in the middle here, well, I don't know if you can see, but in the middle here, it kind of smushes the design when you do it twice like that, but it's going to be covered up, so it doesn't really matter. So I embossed that, then I layered it onto a piece of our silver foil paper. And the silver foil, I cut it. You can cut it just a 1/4 inch bigger all the way around, so 3 1/4 by 5 1/4. I actually cut mine just a smidge smaller so that my border is not quite as big. That's just personal preference. If you want to cut it at 3 1/4 by 5 1/4, you'll have a nice little 1/8 inch edge all the way around. Okay. The next thing I did was I cut, also from thick Whisper White cardstock. I used the Stitched Shapes framelits, and I used the third circle, this one, and I cut that out. And then I'm going to do a little tiny bit of stamping on here. My intention actually was to use the Love What You Do stamp set, but there was a couple things. First of all, there wasn't a birthday in here, and I did end up using this piece, but I found a birthday image from another one, from another stamp set, which I'll show you in a second. And I also ended up really liking the flowers on here, so instead of using the stamps, I just cut my images, which I'll show you in just a second. But I did want to add that background stamp on here just for a little bit of texture. So I'm using the Mint Macaron stamp pad, and I'm going to ink this stamp up. This is just a background. I want to stamp it off on my scratch paper, so it's going to be a lot lighter on my, and you know what, I don't really, whoops, I got a little fuzzy or something on there, and I can see on here that I'm not getting a really good image, so I'm going to ink that up again and stamp it off again. And then I'm going to stamp it, and I did stamp it down a little bit so it covers the whole bottom half, but the top half of my circle is going to be covered anyway. Shh. Sorry, my dogs are in here, and they think somebody is going to be here to kill me, I think, because that's what she barks about all the time. All right, so this little happy birthday, Penny, shh. This little happy birthday is from a set called Special Celebrations. This is a great all-around set. It's got lots of great sentiments in it, and I like that there are inside images as well as outside images. For example, you've got the happy birthday here, and then this image is great. It matches it and goes on the inside of your cards. For the bride, there's a great saying for the inside. This is a really nice set, Special Celebrations, and it is a twofer because you got lots of pieces in here. Okay, so got my little stamp here. I am not stamping this off so that when I stamp it, I get the same color but in a really nice dark color. Okay, then like I said, I really liked the flower images from that Share What You Love. So I just took my paper snips and cut a few of them out and stuck them on the top here. So we'll stick one over here, and we'll do this one on the other side. Actually, this one I think I want to stick this underneath here. And when I'm sticking flowers and things down on here, actually, I want that one to show a little bit more. Sticking flowers and things down here, I'm actually trying not to stick them all the way flat. That gives you a little bit of extra texture as well. And then this one, I wanted to use a little dimensional on. So this is a little mini Stampin' Dimensional. I'll take that and stick that one right there. Okay. Then I layered that onto one of our pearlized doilies. These are so pretty. And it was this, this stitch circle is just perfect to give you a nice little edge of that pearlized doily there. Oops, there's a little piece. Didn't quite get popped out. Okay, adhesive on the back of this. And just like that. Then this gets layered again onto the front of this piece. To the front of the box. Like that. And then you can just tie your little bow here in the front. And you can trim your ribbon off a little bit if it's too long. I sometimes like to leave my ribbon a little bit long because every time you tie it and retie it, sometimes it gets a little frayed on the end, so you have to clip it off. So this way, if you leave it a little bit long, you'll have, you can clip that off. And then finally, the last thing I added was some of the little pearls from, let's see, what are these pearls from? They're called the Share What You Love Artisan Pearls. And I just added a couple of the green ones on here. Oops. And these are sticky, so you don't have to worry about adhesive underneath them. And then I thought I would add a little tiny touch of the yellow to the centers. I actually like to use an X-Acto knife for this because I can slip that little blade right underneath them easily. But my office is a train wreck right now, so I couldn't find it, so this is where we're going with scissors, and it works. It's just easier with a X-Acto knife. Alright, so there you go. And I think this would be a great thing. You could, for a birthday, you could stuff it with all kinds of little knickknacks, maybe a gift card and some treats, some really fun things. But then they would have this really pretty keepsake box to keep after they opened their gift. Thanks again for joining me for this card quickie video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my blog at pocketfulofstamps.com. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook. Until next time, happy stamping!